Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
Hey guys, we got some fun news on the table today.
Woo!
Yeah, we're gonna have we're gonna get into an announcement about a giveaway.
Yes.
And some big giveaways that are going to start happening throughout this year, and we'll tie into that. We got a few announcements to start off this big podcast. We're going to jump into a podcast really investigating the power of serving others.
Yeah, and I got very triggered as we were processing this because of growing up in the church and all of the rhetoric. So this is going to be a fun conversation, trying to deconstruct our ideas and come up with some.
Yeah, what is it? What is the power of serving others, and how do I do it in healthy ways, and how have I been unhealthy, and what's the benefits of it?
Yes,
we're really excited about that.
But announcements. Announcement number one.
Like we said, like we said, we're going to get into a really cool string of conversation about what giving away is going to look like this year, because we've been really inspired from before. And if you've been listening, you've heard the episodes where we gave $1,000 away and then someone else matched it. We gave it to people to give away to other people, so that the power of giving gets to keep going on and on and on. And so we're gonna talk more about what we're gonna do with that. But before we do, we just made some major decisions about what we're doing with Life Consulting Masterclass. For those of you who don't know, we currently have a life consulting masterclass.
Oh my gosh, it's the joy of my life.
A year-long experience where I've come alive fathering people.
Oh my gosh, I know. You talk to people all the time on the phone. You walk them through stuff. Yeah. You're working with, it is so fun watching
My soul came alive. When you initially announced you wanted to do this, it just was like, in my soul, I wanted to die, because I was like, it's one more thing I have to do. Why are you doing this to me? And then I was like, no, I'm going to buy into this. Like, what does it look like to really get invested? Yeah, it's really fun.
We have, so for those of you who don't know, besides the podcast, we've been life consultants for over a decade. We've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of clients. We've seen an amazing transformation, and we've trained so many people to be life consultants now who do that as their careers and that love doing it. We want as many people on the planet to get as much help as possible. And we kind of have a unique blend of healing, the healing process that we lead people through. I don't know any school that exists that is like ours. The Life Consulting Masterclass, it's a year-long program where we really help people get healing for themselves, because we don't want to teach people logic to help people. As someone who grew up with a dad who was a counselor who knew all the logic but hadn't gone on the emotional process, what we have found is that breakthrough happens when you've gone on your own journey.
There's some authority that you carry into an experience where people go, oh, I can actually trust it. I can feel the breakthrough that you had on your life. You know this, you understand this, and now I can benefit.
There's a difference between healing logic and healing energy.
Heart.
And I have got the most breakthrough when I was with counselors that not only understood logically what was going on for me, but who also emotionally created an energy, a space, a life force where I could feel connected to love and heal. Yeah.
So with that said, we're over a little over halfway our first year.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I'm loving it, and people are loving it.
Incredible feedback with it. And so there's going to be signups for that. It's all done through an application process, and we're going to give you guys all the information. Everyone in. Yeah, no, it's very niche. We took so much. It took us 2 months to dig through applications last year, because we were very, very specific about who we're bringing into this space for this year-long process.
But if that sounds interesting to you, if you're like, I want to learn to work with people,
at lfa@stumballconsulting.com,
and we'll keep you on the information list.
Yep, specifically for that.
Next, we are not doing another round of Living Fully Live this year.
Yeah, people have been asking us. It's going to be back January, 4th will be the official start date, I think, or 7th. January 7th will be the official start date of that, 2023, like we did all our other years. We really like that space. People love to start their year off like that. So that's where that's going to be.
But we will will be doing
The Pathway to Freedom,
which I'm
with Abi
so
and Pete.
excited about. It is what we have all of our life consultants go through because it's the foundation of what you need to know of how you operate as a human. The world is not trying to destroy your life. You can actually let your emotions and life circumstances push you into healing and lead you into wholeness and not break you down.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that. You can email us for all of those things to get on the list.
Signups are going to go live, I think, June 1st for that. And then that starts in August. So
now the one that they've been waiting for.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get this whole announcement time done to the family out there. But here it is. So being inspired by what we had talked about, we decided like, hey, we want to find a way to continue to give maybe monthly for a season, $1,000 away to someone who wants to give that $1,000 away. We want the giving experience to happen. Stories
to keep going. We want to inspire people to give and to give generously and to give their heart. Like both of our stories before, people got affected by the process of dreaming for somebody else's life and for wanting to empower them. And we want to see generosity continue, and we want to hear people's journeys.
And it's so interesting because like oftentimes giveaways are about what I can get.
Yeah.
But this giveaway is, I get to dream about what I get to give to someone. Like I have the room to be able to give. And so we just feel really excited about the idea of transforming the way people think about loving the world outside of themselves. Because we've been a podcast that's been trying to teach people, how do you love yourself? And as we love ourselves, there should be this coinciding existence of overflow where that love turns to other-centered love in healthy ways, because I feel filled in my own right, and I'm going to dream to love other people with that love that I have for myself. And so that's why we want to do something like this.
Yeah. So if we want you to dream of ways to give money away.
And if you have those dream ideas, you can go to the Connected Life, to Abi and Justin and Abi.com.
JustinandAbi.com.
ABI.com. You can go to the Connected Life page, and there's going to be a spot where you just get to type in ideas for podcasts.
Yeah.
Give us your idea for how you want to spend $1,000 on someone, how you want to like uniquely bless them with that. And we're going to start picking winners, and we're going to get consistent with that. We're going to figure out the details soon.
We'll let you know. We just wanted to
We
start.
need ideas to get going. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you have ideas for the podcast,
tell people
that you
about
want to
this
put on there.
too.
Yeah. Get other people involved. I think let's create a network of people giving.
Because even when you talk about that, other people go, well, I already have some money. Let me put that towards something. Let's go give to someone already, even if we don't win it.
And if you're out there listening and you're like, I want to give a chunk of money away and I want to be a part of this, we will not take any money that is given to us for that reason. We will
not take any of it personally. Yeah. We will find a way to funnel it directly to other things.
So if you want to do that,
giving to people,
email us also,
and we'll figure out a way to set it up.
Consulting, and it'd be cool if like my dream is to get enough, like we could get some chunks of like $10,000 so that people could get like new cars, like give away a car
because it's a trying hard time financially in the world right now. And what about when we help pay for gas and pay for bills and things like that, where families are struggling? Like there's got to be a way to serve others that leaves lasting impacts on them and relieves them in this time, which goes back to the conversation about the power of serving others.
Wait, which I just want to say, like, this is also the journey. Like I always look at what I want to be doing with my life. I've always wanted to be able to like give cars away.
Dream of ways to give away money.
Then what I do is I figure out, well, what can I do now?
Yeah.
Like most people are like, well, I can't do that until I become a millionaire. I can't do that and so the goal is like, well, if you can't give away a car, but you can give away a coffee, find what you can do.
Totally.
Anyway.
I love it.
So that was a long spiel.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about all of it.
Yep. And the power of serving others. So one of the big things that was triggering for you around this, do you want to go into that kind of like about
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things. Growing up in the church, and we'll call the church the institution.
Yeah, the institution of faith
or religion. Because I actually think the church is the people, and that is you give a great description of that. But the institution, you hear so many sermons about serving, and then they're coupled with needing you to serve. So it's like, this is what you need to do to be a good human, but also we need this from you. So it can end up feeling kind of manipulative a little bit. Like
now give your soul to our organization.
Yeah. Like this is what you need to do for you to come alive. And also just so happens that we really need this from you. And so it also becomes transactional because there is a lot of benefit to serving others and to other-centered love. Like it's one of the most sacred things we get to experience as humans, other-centered love. And it pulls us out of, depression and anxiety to be able to be outward focused.
So much so.
But when you're describing all the benefits of it and then at the same time asking people to serve you, the mixed message becomes like that you're almost like saying it's good for you, but only because you need something from me.
Yeah.
And so it can kind of feel a little gross.
A little bit like an MLM scheme.
Yes. And I don't ever think I don't think pastors' hearts are bad. Honestly, you do need help in a church to make it work.
Yeah.
And everything they're saying is true. The more you serve, you get such benefit from it. So it's not like any of those are untrue. It's just unfortunate how it plays. And then you have all the people like me. I am definitely 100% an out of the closet codependent.
Yeah, you're super codo.
I am codependent. And there's been seasons where I've been less and seasons where I've been more. It's kind of like my most natural coping mechanism in life. And so if I'm in a high trauma season, I am much more likely to be codependent. And so for all of those people out there, they're listening. And if we do want to talk on the power of serving others, they're like, that now they're just going to give every part of their entire life to other people. And so that can get really tricky. And that's the problem. Like pastors give sermons or people give talks, and typically the people who are already sensitive to that are the people that like lean in farther.
Totally.
So the people who are already servers like are like, okay, I guess I'll get 5 more days out of my week.
Yeah, potentially the self-absorbed people are like, okay, whatever.
That's
I'm
for the
moving
other
on.
people. Yeah. And so we want you to be able to like actually listen to this with self-awareness for where you're at and where you're coming from, and what life is like in serving. You need to have some self-awareness.
I agree. And I think there's a lot of this. We're talking about a balanced person.
Yes.
Like, what does balance look like? What does it look like to love your neighbor as yourself? Right? When that's like, oh, I'm loving myself really well. So much so
I
that
have boundaries. I can care for my own needs. I believe my own needs matter as much as the world around me. Because what codependency is I believe every other person's needs are more important than mine.
My own.
So I'm going to help every other person and not take care of me. That's not balanced.
I think other-centered love, true, healthy, other-centered love comes from the idea of coexistence.
Yes.
Like both of our humanities is coexisting right now. It's not either you exist or I exist. Deep self-absorption that's not really love.
Yeah.
Usually is already obliterating other people's humanity all around them anyways. And like, you don't exist to me, only I exist. And I'll never have enough anyways inside of my soul because it's not landing somehow the love I am receiving.
Yeah.
But I think it's that coexisting. Like, how do I serve from a place of maintaining a value for my own humanity? And how do I serve from a place where I'm not drawing identity from the service? So like, drawing identity from it can be is as simple as like being like, I'm valuable because look how amazing I am. I'm so wonderful. I touched this person's life. I'm giving so much money. I'm giving so much time and effort. I help them out. And you suddenly get this special attitude.
Listen, also codependents would never say it that way. They would feel those things like I matter because I'm giving. I'm lovable because I am taking care of you. Like I'm meeting your needs so you won't leave me. Like it's not like I've never felt like I'm so proud. Look at me. I'm so great for doing it.
Totally.
But there is that sensation of like, I feel worthy because I'm serving, not that I feel worthy and I'm serving.
And you'll know, like, if you are attached to giving and service, based on identity, like your identity being fed out of it, when you stop. You'll know, because when you stop, you start spiraling. You start feeling shame for not doing it. You start feeling like your life doesn't matter whatsoever.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like you start suddenly feeling hopeless because you weren't able to give anymore in certain ways.
You also know when your identity is wrapped in service and giving when you start to feel resentful of people.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. So that often means, and that happens to me sometimes, like I'll give and give and give, and then I'll start to feel resentful. And that means that I overgave my own boundaries. Because the heart of giving would be that I could give to you whether you respond or react or whatever or not. I want to, my goal is to give to you, to take, it's other-centered love.
Yeah.
But when I overgive or when I'm not paying attention to my own boundaries, then I start to feel like they owe me to respond. They owe me to give to me. And I know once I've hit that spot, and I know, listen, we're around a school here that literally teaches the way to get relationship with leaders that you want is to serve them. And I freaking hate it because it is a manipulative, disgusting system. But the problem is,
how do you really feel?
But the problem is there's some truth to it. Like there's been a lot of people in our lives that have served, and that has actually created relationship. Like there is a truth to that.
Connection.
Yeah, you bond and connect to the people that you're around a lot. But what it does is it creates all these people who have an agenda. They want something from you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying they want to serve you. I can't tell you how many times people have told me they want to serve me. And I'm like, no, you want me to be your best friend. And so you're saying you want to serve me.
Yeah. Like to me, I'm like, if you really want to serve me, I had someone who wanted to give service to me. And this is a beautiful story. They're like, I want to come mow your lawn weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're some of the most amazing people, a husband and
Yes.
wife. And I was just like, I don't know that I can spend time with you. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it so you can spend time with you. I feel loved by all the ways that you've already helped me through your podcast and helped me even in your office. It's a way that like, I feel like I just want to do this. And they literally,
For a year or two.
Yes.
When we were really sick.
When we were at our sickest and I could not
Mm-hmm.
barely function, did it for me. And I tear up oftentimes when I think about it or talk about it, because never once did I feel like they showed up at my doorstep like, oh, hey, we want to talk more. I mean, even the husband would be like, all right, well, we got to go. See you later.
And it was hard to receive.
That was hard because
it was very hard for us to
felt
receive.
the other-centered love in it.
Yes.
I didn't feel like
they were taking.
No, and I didn't feel like I could give anything, especially because I was so sick.
Yeah, we'll just give them a shout out, Ken and Melanie Huggard. They deserve like to actually get.
Yeah, I might as well.
Yeah.
Ken and Melanie are amazing.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Ken Huggard, I just want to squish your little face. He's such a man's man.
He's
like,
such
shut
a
up.
man's man. That's so funny. Yeah, it was very, very extravagant of them and got us through it. But that is what other-centered love is. And you can even, and our hearts kind of go on the spectrum. So like I know that I can start serving somebody with intentions about them, and then I can just slowly get to where I need something from it.
Do you appreciate me? Are
Yeah.
you seeing that I'm doing this? Do you know how much a price I paid for this situation?
Yeah.
Because somewhere inside of us, something is saying I'm either not getting taken care of or I'm drawing from this. I want something more. I have some unconscious expectations of it.
Yeah. And so for me, I don't think it's bad because I mean, that happened. I am, like I said, codependent. So I can be serving somebody out of really pure intentions.
Right.
And then it can just kind of just drift over the line. And I don't think, oh, none of my service was good intentioned. And this is all,
totally.
I literally just see it. And I like kind of just course correct a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, it's like when you're driving, if you start to veer out of your lane, you don't need to like do a U-turn.
Totally.
Just veer back into the lane. Like, you don't need to make a drastic overstatement. You don't need to stop serving everyone altogether.
It feels like people do a drastic U-turn at 80 miles an hour.
Yes. And it's like crazy. And they're like, so it'll be like, oh, I'm serving. And then you'll be like, I feel like I'm getting codependent. I'm never serving anyone again. Or like none of anything I ever did was pure. It's all for me. I'm the evil one. Like people go to extremes. And so if I find myself just feeling a little bit resentful, I'll be like, okay, where am I running over me? And what do I need to do to get my heart back to a place of alignment where I can give? And
can I add specifically to what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you're talking about that resentment towards others, especially when we're running over ourselves. Oftentimes when it's that issue, it's our heart doesn't know how to have a conversation with us. Like,
yes.
Our heart ideally would say, our inner truest self would want to say, Justin, you're forcing me to do this. And I've given you 10,000 signs that I'm done mowing this lawn.
Yeah.
Like, I was done 3 months ago.
Yes.
But you kept telling me, no, we've already committed. No, we need to do this. And I've told you repeatedly, I just want to hang out this weekend. I want to have fun for once. I'm exhausted by life. And so what our soul then does, because it can't have the we don't know language for having a direct conversation with us. So it projects outwardly.
Yeah.
And it goes, this person is horrible and taking from me.
Yes. They don't appreciate me. They don't care about me. And oftentimes our heart is screaming about us.
You don't appreciate me. You don't care about me.
Yes.
You're not seeing everything that I already am doing.
Yeah. I would say 99% of the time, if I start to get resentful for somebody not responding well, it is often because I have ran over a need of mine. And even if the need of mine is like, I've done this before with friends where I've been like, oh, I really, really loved doing that for you. But I realized I need to know, did it matter that I did that for you? And that doesn't feel like I'm taking from them. It's just me, like, because I want to know, like,
trying to clarify, does this expression of love land? Is that what you're saying?
Does this actually affect you?
And if
not, then I don't want to keep doing it forever.
Like, I don't care if my grass is 10 feet high. I don't need it mowed. And you're like, oh, I'm going to stop mowing then.
100%.
Give me an avenue that is valuable to you.
Yes. So I want to know if it is affecting people sometimes. And that doesn't feel selfish to me. Because I get spurred on if I know what I'm doing is valuable.
I want to maximize my effort and energy.
Exactly. 100% I do.
That's realistic.
No, there's also times that I serve people and I know it doesn't affect them because I know deep down it's something that they need.
Yeah, I've done that before where I'm like, consciously, they don't have an ability to say this means something now. And they may
that's
not.
What you did in our entire marriage. Yeah, I'm going to take out this trash.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, you'd be like, I'm going to take out this trash. Abby's not going to know that it's loving her because she has a group coming over tonight, and then she'd have to take out the trash in the middle of the group. And you did something because you knew that it was valuable, regardless of if I could understand it.
Yeah.
But you also had to learn the balance of not always doing that and running over yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're talking about, the balance of serving others while also taking care of our own hearts.
I'm thinking about going back to transactional like stuff and being resentful. Like, because I know times, I'll give an example. Like, it's such a simple one. Like, I'll minimize it down to this. But there's times where in the past I've held a door open for someone.
Like a long time ago?
Yeah, where it would be like, and I've resolved this in my soul.
Because you don't hold doors anymore now. No, I'm just kidding.
I slam doors in people's faces. Remember, the world is horrible. Life reality check.
That's
funny. No, but I would, maybe hold a door open for someone and they'd walk through. They wouldn't acknowledge that I was holding it. They wouldn't say thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, you friggin' jackass. I should just slam this door. I shouldn't have done that. And I remember when I would hit those points, I would go, why does this anger me?
Yeah.
Like, why am I suddenly resentful at this random human being who doesn't owe me and I was like, oh, because I'm doing this expecting, I have an expectation that they're going to put a smile on their face and they're going to express gratitude towards me. And something gets a little hit inside of me of like, yeah, I did something nice again.
Yeah.
I'm being nice to people.
I'm a good person.
I'm such a good person. Look at what I did. And really, as I've gone on my own personal exploration of other-centered love, even settling like, no, I want to be a certain person. And I want to, regardless of people's reactions or energy, I do not care. This is who I am. And I started writing a standard in my own soul of this is who I am. This is how I want to express myself. And this is the energy, the life, the care, the love that I want to bring into this world. Like, I want to shape a world around my personal sphere of influence that always is expressing itself in this manner.
Yeah.
Regardless.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about, I love what you're saying, which is, am I doing this for you or am I doing this because this is who I want to be? And if you're doing it because this is who you want to be, you're often not running over yourself as much.
No.
Yeah. Because
a lot of times it's like, no,
you're not doing it for the reward.
I like this.
You're
No.
doing it because this is about you.
And
you want to be this type of person.
And I'm not doing it because of a social expectation. There are social expectations that I have super violated.
Yes.
Because I'm just like, I'm not going to do it for you to be happy.
You little 8
For you to feel right about my life. I'm just not.
Yeah.
It's going to be authentic to me. But in that authenticity to me is genuine love.
Yes.
Like it's pure love when it's authentic to this is who I am. This is what I want to do.
Well, and it's so interesting. Having been so sick these past few years and going through so much, there's so many days where like I don't have the energy to smile.
Right.
I don't have the energy to like be really gracious and like fawn over. Like, so if somebody opens a door for me and I feel horrible, it is actually a lot for me to remember to say thank you and smile.
Yeah.
And not because I'm not grateful, but typically it's because all of my mindset is thinking about freaking standing up and walking.
Right.
Through
It's
the
survival.
door. I am in survival mode. And because I've been in survival mode the past few years, it's like built in so much grace and compassion for how many times people haven't responded to me in a certain way. And I thought it was about me.
Yeah.
I thought that they didn't care about me opening the door. I thought that they didn't value that I was helping them at all. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, if most humans are walking around in survival mode, and survival mode is like, I'm doing everything I can to exist. And so it's very hard to get
one more moment, one more situation.
And it can be very hard to get outside of yourself, which, by the way, is why it's very beautiful, even when you're not doing good, to find small ways to give to other people. Because giving to other people breaks you out of survival mode.
Yes, it really does.
Unless you use giving to other people as your survival mode. But I think for the most part, when you're really in survival mode, choosing to get outside of your body, choosing to get outside of your circumstances, choosing to get outside of thinking about your world and how it's falling apart or how you need to hold it together or what you need to do, and thinking about another person. I will literally use it as a drug. I felt that before, where I'll be like, oh, I'm feeling really like everything's feeling really rough. What can I do to love someone? Because that pulls me out.
Well, what happens is oftentimes in a deep pain place of where we're self-absorbed. That's a way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's not even, you're not evil or bad for it, but when I've been super sick, I'm very self-absorbed. I'm trying to survive within my body. But what happens in self-absorption is what we start seeing is isolation. Like we have a lens of I'm alone. I'm the only one going through this.
Yep.
I'm trapped inside of this. And this sense of abandonment.
You can sink inside yourself.
Yes, you can sink deep into yourself. And so when we enter into where we have capacity for sacrificial service in a moment and dig ourselves out of the hole is where we reconnect to humanity, and we see someone else's pain or someone else's need and we go, I'm not alone. There are other people also that have need. There are other people that are going through stuff, and I can make an impact in their world and they can make an impact on mine. And it gives a lot of life. Yeah. In those dark places.
Yeah, it's very beautiful what you're saying. And it's interesting, having come from a season. It's very weird to know you're in a self-absorbed season and to know like I'm self-absorbed. I felt that way, in our marriage the past few years. It's very painful to know that you're in a self-absorbed season. There's lots of ways I've tried to engage to love you in the midst of that. But I was just thinking about the self-acceptance of like knowing in some seasons we are more self-absorbed than other seasons. Yeah. But all that to say, when you serve, you have to be mindful that people's responses to your serving may or may not have anything to do with you.
Right. And I think as a kind of like a pause moment for people mentally, like asking yourselves the question, do I have a really strong reaction to when I do something for others and they don't respond in certain ways? Just first off, whether it's the thank you, whether it's big emotional reaction, and then begin to ask yourself, okay, what is that? Does that have to do with I'm trying to draw identity out of it? Does it have to do with I've created expectations of how people should respond to love or care? Does it have to do with I'm violating something inside of myself? Like, take a moment. Ask yourself that in this process.
Yeah, because there's like some core human truths that when we connect to them, that you actually feel like the energy of life flowing through you.
Mm-hmm.
And a core human thing is when you actually give outside of yourself in a others focused way, you get to experience a piece of love that is very like sacred to me on the planet. It's like a beautiful thing. And so I like figuring out what is it that I can weed out from this to get down to that beautiful, authentic expression. And it doesn't mean you have to live your whole life that way. Like Justin is very other-centered, but he's also very self-centered in a healthy balance. Like he has his man cave. He has this beautiful, beautiful cave full of toys in our basement that he built. And it is so freaking cold in there. I never want to be in it. I literally come in for like 30 seconds. Then I'm like, I have to leave because it's a torture chamber, which I think he did purposefully to keep me out.
Yes. That was so thought through. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, it's just cold. But so I think about like you happily spend time in that room. You leave parties when you feel like you don't have capacity to be at them anymore. You take care of yourself. And then you also have all of these areas where you call somebody who's going through something hard and you sit with them for 2 hours through it. And you meet the homeless person and you talk to them about their life for 2 hours, and you do a lot of things in 2 hour chunks. But so there's like a lot of, it's that balance. You have boundaries so that when you give, there's authentic giving.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. The thing is, I'm not always trying to escape my service anymore. Because when I wanted to escape my service back in the day, I could hear an inner voice that was like, I don't have time for this. I've been needing, and like I would hear a bunch of needs like explode. I'm so tired. I'm wore out. And so I would always, I don't want to use the word always. There was a lot of times that I served that there was a part of my soul I could feel that was wanting to hurry up with the service. And I wasn't staying fully present back in the day because I wasn't tending to that part of my soul. It's so much easier for me to serve fully present to the moment because part of me is not worrying about like I'm going to violate it tomorrow with more service to others. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that one thing I want to say is I get a lot of benefits from serving others. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we've talked about like it gets you outside of yourself, but I also think like I have gotten so many beautiful life nuggets from the people that I've served and the choices that I've made. And I think, every human is imperfect, but every human has strengths. And oftentimes their greatest strengths are their biggest weaknesses. And so there's been lots of seasons in my life where I have served someone else's vision, where I have helped them fulfill what their calling on their life is or what they feel passionate about pursuing. And I often get the overflow from that. There's some part of their gift mix that I have access to. Like it's almost like when I choose to serve someone, I open myself up to the blessings on their life. I open myself up to the breakthroughs in their life. It's almost like if you think about like energy, and people have like, everybody has energy around them, and some of our gifts are in our energy around us. And some of our dysfunctions are in our energy around us. But when you choose to serve somebody, you get kind of access to the gifts that are in their energy field around them.
Yeah.
I'm not being new agey. I'm just saying tangibly, everybody has like emotions that they radiate and gifts that they radiate.
Yeah.
And so I often think about, I can look back at every person that I served their vision, and I can see things in my life that transformed from being around their vision. Who
they were, how they processed certain parts of life that was very unique. That I know that there's certain parts of me, even in the realm of being, I worked for and served someone in a season where I got paid $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
For like 60-hour weeks.
Yeah.
And I got housing.
Yes.
Out of it and lived with them. And I watched the way that they processed finances that changed the entire dynamic of how I showed up to life. They didn't have fear about they created a lot of things out of nothing. What I mean by that is like they didn't have the financial capacity to do a whole lot of things and needed miracles all the time. And they had this attitude of like, I don't know, it's just going to work out. We're going to find a solution.
Yes.
It's going to come out last minute. We're just going to jump. And it taught me how to have faith for life, where it's like, I don't know how this is going to work. I'm just going to jump. I'm going to let go of my relationship with fear. Like I inherited a lifestyle of behavior in that was so beneficial, that rubbed off on me through that. And I think that's a lot of what you're talking about, is stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and even tangibly, like I think about, I remember taking a massive pay cut to go serve some friends of mine that felt like much younger than me, and it didn't feel, it was like, this is not getting me ahead in my life at all.
Right.
Like, I'm going to go help you where you're at in a spot that it feels like backwards for me, but I feel like I'm supposed to help serve you. But there was like a huge, there was a life energy of success on them. And I already had my own life energy of success at that point. I wasn't like, I didn't go to serve them because I was desperate for their success energy. You know what I mean? Like, so I felt like we were equals. But I felt like I was supposed to put myself in a servant role.
And there was a natural byproduct that came out of that.
Yeah. And naturally that year we had our most successful year we had ever had, with the least amount of work on my end. I mean, it was still a lot of work on your end. But what I am saying is there was this, I could tangibly feel a grace on our lives,
right?
That shifted beyond just our natural, what had been happening for us.
I want to add to this,
and I don't want to be spoofy or not superstitious about that, because our life, we had the best year we'd ever had because of years of preparation for that, and
Correct.
years of hard work. But there was like a culmination, life flow in like moment where things came together in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. I think there's also something where there's inspiration inside of service.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter where it's at whatever levels it's at. It can inspire you to more good things, more hope for how you want to design your life and build your life. I want to say this, that I have exchanged my time and my energy with people who are in some of their messiest, darkest seasons. They have nothing about maybe to give. Yeah. And their life energy may say like,
yeah, it's not like you're serving to get something.
Right. It's just even their life energy is, I'm a black hole.
Yeah.
Right now.
Totally.
But the gift to me is the reality of their humanity and getting to participate in their humanity. That I'm like, this is beautiful that you trust me with your journey. I get to know something about you in some of your weakest states. Even that, like, let's just, and even there's been wisdom that's come out of how they've been processing in their darkness, that even for me, I've been like, oh my gosh, that's so profound what they're discovering in their darkness on their own journey that is now impacting me in that.
Well, and not only that, it like helps when you give to other people, it reminds you that your own story mattered. That you fighting through your own shit has got you somewhere to be able to give something to someone. Like that's an incredible payoff. And there's so many times where it feels like, where I'd be in bed all day and I'd be like, I have nothing to offer anybody. But then I talk to somebody and they tell me about somebody where that they're out on their journey. And I'm like, oh, I remember being in that dark hole. And I remember that I got out. The fact that I'm still existing does give me something to offer hope for somebody who went through something. It reminds you that your very life can impact.
Yeah. I think about choosing to love people in their darkest places, and I don't find myself thinking from a hierarchical place. Like, oh, I'm better than you. I have something to give you.
No freaking way.
It's like, what happens for me is I identify with their humanity, and I can look at it and go, yeah, me too.
Yep.
Totally. Me too. I've been there. I know this. And there's a humbling that takes place when we're not drawing identity from giving, where instead of drawing identity, and my identity is not in it, I'm just being present with another's humanity. It reminds me of how to have compassion on my own, and it reminds me of my own story, and I get to enter into their story and co-create this next moment with them. And I end up feeling undone and honored that I'm trusted in that space with them. And I'm undone and honored at what I get to learn about myself, even things that are reflected as I'm participating. And to say this about all of it, kind of generally pulling it all together, I have come to think more often than not now through the lens of eternity and an eternal perspective on service, because now I view every interaction with a human as this is an eternal being that I will get to participate in an eternal space. I'm having a unique interaction that may be for one moment. It may be someone that's on drugs. Like I had an exchange with a guy who tore up our office the other day, who was completely drugged out on another planet, and I chased him down to Planet Fitness, and I'm having an exchange with him, trying to figure out what's going on. And I stop for a moment, and I look him in the face, and I go, I need you to know that even after you tore up our offices over there, that I love you and your life matters to me. And I know you may never remember this cognitively, this moment that we're having, but I want your soul and your spirit to know it as I'm having this dialogue. And I walked off. I may never see him again on earth, but I look at it as my time and energy spent to participate in his story. Him and I get to be friends in an eternal space. We get to embrace, we get to talk about his journey. I get to share of his story. Like I have expanded and been on the journey of expanding my sense of each and every one of these exchanges and how do each of these interactions continue on long after this time dispensation that we have.
God, that's so inspirational. Yeah, I think of service as expanding. You get to expand your own being. You get to expand your connections. You get to expand by sometimes I expand just like you explained. Like now you have that connection, an internal connection.
Yeah.
But other times it's like you expand. Like when I've served other people, I've expanded because of how they view life. It's helped me expand my own mindsets and my own beliefs. And then sometimes it's just expanding because we're learning other-centered love expands us out of what we're used to. I would like you to share that you did set some boundaries with him though, because I think that's a very good example of this. Like serving others does not mean we have a lack of self-value or a lack of taking care of ourselves.
Showing up and meeting him in the midst of his humanity, I kind of... First off, I started off with giving him a little bit of BS and told him that I'd called the cops already, just so I had established some sort of like
authority
inside of it. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And because I didn't know where the conversation was going to go, I didn't know if we're going to end up in a fight. No, I was ready to fight if I had to, because I really care about protecting also the human beings that are in this office.
Yep.
And he felt pretty dangerous. I caught him on video. He was lighting a fire in the office, and there was a lot to it. And I said, "Hey man, in the future, if I ever catch you back at that office again, doing any of the stuff that you've done, I will make sure that I call the police, and I'll do everything to make sure that you're apprehended in my own physical power. So are we clear? Are we good that you're not going to do that?" He's like, "Oh yeah. Okay." Which means nothing at that point. Right.
But it's still for the sake of, I think it's good for people who grew up in faith to hear that balance of I can be loving and kind and still set some firm, healthy boundaries.
And he, and I got him to get present with himself, because I said, if you'll have a genuine talk with me, I will tell the cops I couldn't find you when I chased you down. He goes, okay. And again, he was off on another planet at some level, but he also got a little bit present with himself as we dialogued. And when he was going to walk away, he looks at me and he goes, "Thank you." And he puts his hand out and shakes my hand. Like I felt a piece of his humanity break
show up for a minute
out of the addiction and stuff and be there. And I was like, all right, I'm present with you for this moment.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I want to get into a little bit more as we're getting closer to ending, but I think of the person who's radically self-absorbed. Like they live a lifestyle of only me.
Yep.
And I want to have a talk about that because
it's very unfulfilling. All the people I know who are really self-absorbed hate life.
And I think of these self-absorbed people, they're trying to accumulate as much as they can, whether it's money, it's
trying
objects,
to experience the best experiences.
Right. Like it's only about their pain, or it's only about their like feel goods for a moment. And what I can say is none of that is true self-care. There's an open pit inside of your soul when you're at that level of self-absorption.
Yeah. And
self-absorption is really like, I haven't chosen to solidify that my life matters. I haven't closed this almost like a black hole inside of me. I haven't actually closed it up by deciding like, I'm not going to let circumstances outside of me dictate my value. I'm just going to accept that I am lovable.
Yeah.
That acceptance hasn't happened. So it's like this vacuum, this void happens, and they're desperately in fear and bad emotions, clinging to like, what is the external thing that I can do to plug this?
Yeah.
And ultimately that behavior, deep self-absorption, I can tell you that when you're living in that, you're living in torment.
Yeah.
And you're amplifying your torment because it's living in disconnection. Like that is disconnection from relationship.
Absolutely.
And anytime we are disconnected from relationship, we're disconnected from love. Part of the way that, like, if you think of two cords plugging in to something like connection, you can plug a cord into yourself, but if it's not plugged into a power source, there's nothing happening. And relationship is like the power source. Like when I take my cord and I plug it into another human being and experience with them, loving them, letting them love me, that is where the energy of life and love happens, right?
Yeah.
And so acknowledging that, I think if you're listening to this and you can go, usually I'm mostly concerned about taking care of myself, making sure I got mine, my money, my food, my whatever, my way. Life is my way. I'm controlling everything. I'm just going to say you need to take a minute and acknowledge, like, I'm probably in a lot of torment that I don't have cognitive reality of.
Totally.
And the only way I'm going to get out of this is to begin to surrender over to giving without expectation.
Totally.
Serving without expectation for a season. And it makes you less miserable. Like less of a miserable person and less of a miserable environment. And people actually want to show up for you.
Yeah.
People who aren't always taking because of self-protection and all that self-absorption. People are like, I want to try and find ways to meet you. I want to give of my time, my energy, my resources. And I've found that, like, in my life, from doing the podcast that I started just because I wanted to give myself away, starting with the Liberation Project, to giving, I've done hundreds of meetings for free in my office.
We both have.
For people who are struggling, for people like, and I made no announcement of it. I just did it because I wanted to just give. But what I've watched is the synergy of people, and I didn't do it with expectations of someone. And in fact, there are many people that like didn't know how to receive what I gave.
Right.
But through other means, people have come back around, and generosity is contagious.
Absolutely. And
it's more contagious than COVID.
Generosity is more contagious than COVID.
Quote that one.
Yeah.
It is. It sparks an environment where people are like, oh, I see the goodness in you. I want to bless the goodness. Like there's something about humanity where we want to continue to bless goodness. So. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really, really good. I think the more you kind of open yourself up to generosity, the more you open yourself up to receive. Do not email us to get on our list to meet with us personally. We're not doing that right now. And do not email us for a free session.
Our generosity only goes so far right now.
Yeah. But, okay. So I think this is a good talk. It's serving has, I just wish that there was more room, and it's hard. I have a lot of compassion for speakers because trying to fit 3 sides to one topic is impossible in a short amount of time.
Right.
But we want to try to give the nuances around it. Oftentimes in the institution, you hear a very black or white thing, serving is always good. Well, serving is good, but then if you're serving out of, abandoning yourself, it's not helpful for you.
There are some of you that will listen to this and you'll actually need to hear what we're saying because you've been overly service based and you're going to need to learn how to be served. And I want to add that real quick. Letting people serve me. When we talk about service,
you can't make people serve you, so don't become entitled.
Yeah. No, this isn't an entitlement conversation. No one owes me shit.
Yeah.
No one owes me anything whatsoever.
Yes.
And consider it a gift and an honor anytime anyone shows up. A spouse that decides to go out of their way to do something, you should start really considering it a big gift because they don't owe you anything just because they married you.
Yeah.
And I will stand on that. But when I talk about letting people serve you, I'm talking about care, thoughtfulness, whatever it is, words of affirmation, but they're giving of themselves to you. That was one of the most uncomfortable places that I ever walked through, was surrendering to the idea that I am worthy of love being extended to me through sacrificial means, time, energy, resources, whatever. And so some of you, to become truly good givers, are going to have to know how to receive. And to become really good receivers for some of you, you're going to have to really learn how to give.
Yeah. And some of you, you'll be like, oh, I've been serving, but out of the wrong mentality. And it's going to be aligning yourself with a heart of service and still serving. And some of you are going to set some boundaries.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who are going to do a lot of different things from this, but we hope that it sparked some ideas and some conversations that you can process with the people around you in your life. There's so many different ways to serve. It can be from strangers, like Justin was talking about with a homeless person, to people that you know. I've done everything. Like I volunteered. One of the things I did that I loved the most when I was a teenager, I went and some Pizzi's parents owned a bakery where they delivered all across Denver in the Front Range. So it was driving for 8 hours a day. And I volunteered to drive for them for free because their business, it wasn't like they were making enough profit to hire me. And it was one of the best seasons of my life. Like I loved it. I lived with them and, I listened to podcasts and music all day long and had such great interactions with everybody in the stores. And I felt so alive. There's seasons where I've served others, and then seasons where I've done my own thing and people have served me. And then there's day-to-day interactions where you can serve people. There's times where you like commit in your heart to like really caring for another person during a season.
Yeah, and that's it. You know they won't be able to do anything back, but you're just, for this season, I'm going to care for you in the ways that are really needed. And
then there's times where it's just a one-off time. But engage your heart in what it means to engage other-centered love.
And ask yourself, who do I want to be? Like once you can define, this is the character and the nature of who I want to be and how I want to show up, it begins to be like this compass pointing true north in circumstances where you're like, yeah, but this is about who I want to be. I want to be this to this person in this circumstance right now. Yeah. And so it'll be settling for you inside of that. So with that said, thanks for listening. Share this with people because we want people to know that there's the upcoming giveaways that are going to start happening.
We want to hear what you want to do for others. If you have any questions about Life Consulting Masterclass or the Pathway to Freedom, email us. And we'll see you next week. We have some really fun upcoming series coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be radical season.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.